Have you ever had a dream so big that you just couldn't ignore? A dream that gave you the drive to push your own limits to accomplish anything. How about turning raw land from this to this? Well, today we share with you Kris HERE's dream of building his own airport and runway on top of a mountain ridge in western Tennessee. We arrived in Tennessee from Florida, acting a little like tourists, stopping at some of the local natural attractions Hohenwald has to offer. And of course, we couldn't avoid stopping at the local airport to check it out. I'm out here on the edge of town in Hohenwald at the Paul Bridges Airfield. Really nice runway. It's a 4,000-foot strip. No T-hangars, just box hangars, but it's a nice little place. All right, so we're here on the outskirts of Hohenwald in Tennessee. Kris is in the process of getting some property, which obviously this is why we're showing this. So we're gonna follow him out in his truck to, how many acres is it?
170.
170 acres. Let's go check it out. The drive from town to the property was only about 20 minutes. And in those 20 minutes, we saw trees and more trees. And then you guessed it, more trees. This area is known for growing timber, and you will see lots of truck, trailer, and tractor operations on your way. This is what people call God's country, because pretty much all of this land is as it was from the beginning. We are entering the property sort of the back way, and since our first visit, Kris has purchased another parcel that gave him paved road access. Now it's time to unload our Honda side-by-side to explore the property. You having fun?
Yeah!
I'm gonna go ahead and just put it, I'm gonna lock the diff just to not take any chances there.
Yeah.
So we're solid axle in the front. Woohoo! All right.
And then now this road goes down a ways for our property too.
Now that we are on property, let's see what this raw land looks like from the air, untouched. Well, right before Kris went to work. It's honestly a little difficult to see from the air, but there are in fact many peaks and valleys throughout. Some so steep that you would have some difficulty walking them. So Kris had to really explore and plan his attack by clearing trees along the ridges and roads to connect the valleys. If you haven't been to the country and want to know what pure, fresh air feels and smells like, well, I'll tell you, this is where it's at. All right, so back here at Kris HERE's place, I was here about a year ago and he purchased this land. It's in Linden, Tennessee, which is just outside of Hohenwald, little small town, western Tennessee. And he purchased this property to move his whole business here and basically make this a forever home. But Kris, what was the mission and the idea of getting this property?
Well, we had to because of the power line situation on my runway in South Carolina. We got pushed out of there.
Okay.
So we really wanted something that that would never happen again. That we could find a place that we wouldn't have to worry about power companies coming in and taking over, and something that we could expand our operations so we could encompass campsites and cabins and maybe some hangars for all our builder assist guys and for everybody else in the area that might want to participate in that.
So you went from, what was the acreage you had there?
40.
To here?
200.
From 40 to 200?
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of space.
We got a little bit more room.
Well, that being said, right, that was in South Carolina, which is a little bit flatter.
Yes.
We're in western Tennessee, which is not the really mountainous area, but there's big hills here, and that's what we're staying on a ridge right now.
Yeah, we're on a ridge. 1 of 5 on this property.
Okay. So the mission was to move your business and also to have an evergreen place that will never change from the outside world pushing in on you, and you can do what you want here, right?
Correct.
So what was the process of even finding this? This is really like a needle in a haystack type situation.
It is. I do have a knack for picking locations for some reason. I do. So I kind of picked it on a map.
Okay.
Had never been out this way, but I picked it on a map and flew out here and just started looking at a bunch of properties. And I knew it had potential, but we didn't find this spot yet. I looked at, I don't know, 10, 20 properties, and they all were okay, but nothing that was like, this will be absolutely perfect.
Okay, and was there any specific maps that you used to try to figure out the topography?
There really wasn't. It was just Google Earth.
Google Earth?
Google Earth, man. Start to zoom in and look and see what you like, and if there's enough room to make a runway, everything's based around the runway. If you have enough straight land to build a runway, everything else should work.
Okay, and what were you looking for, like in a good frame of mind of a length of runway, or being that you fly the Just Aircraft Superstol, which lands in, I mean, was it 200 or 300 feet?
Yeah.
Your last runway?
Yep.
So this is a huge improvement from that, but what would, in your mind, is that what you're looking for?
I was actually looking, if I could get 1,000, 1,500 foot, I thought I'd be perfect.
Okay.
And I didn't even think I'd get close to that. So to be able to have, you know, multiple runways here now, it's going to be, and they're all going to be fairly long, so it'll be good.
So you found this property, you came out to look at it. It's such a big footprint. How did you go about trying to see what was here? I mean, I guess some of the aerials from Google Earth, but because this wasn't surveyed then, right?
No,
this is just big timberland.
Yeah, and actually I didn't even look at, when my realtor brought me here, it was a last minute thing, so I didn't even get a chance to look at Google Earth or anything. We just drove out here from another property. And when I saw it, we drove down one ridge. And when we drove down the ridge, even though you saw it beforehand, it was just a little teeny path, I knew it was long enough and straight enough and flat enough to make a runway out of. So that was, I started to get excited.
So Kris, you told me when I first came out here that there was this land, there was an optional possibility of some other land that adjoins this, and you ended up getting that as well, correct? Which makes the total. We did. So we were lucky enough when I started looking at the property, I knew to get a lot of the buildings done, we were going to need some power. So although I don't like the power companies coming up here and everybody up here is off grid, I wanted at least enough power to get everything built and before we could do solar. So we did have an adjacent property that we went down in and looked at. And the owner had this cabin, if you see off in the back here, this off-grid cabin. And my thought is if I offered him free electric to his cabin, he may give me an easement up to this property, which is what I offered, and he did. So that wasn't even for sale?
No.
Okay, when you came up here to look at this property?
Correct.
All right.
So we got the guy to agree to an easement. We came back 2 weeks later to sign the paperwork to agree to our easement, and he came up and said, hey, if you guys would like, I'll sell you the property. So that was another 20 acres and 2 houses and a bunch of other buildings, so we ended up getting that as well, so it gave us a full 200 acres.
Which is amazing because the road in here, not a bad road.
No.
But it was a bit of it needed some maintenance.
It needs
right?
some maintenance, yes.
So this gave you another access off of pavement.
Correct.
To your property and a house to live in while you're building your hangar and business. Correct. And a cabin and all the things.
Yes, yes.
All in one package.
Yes, all in one package. We couldn't have got any luckier. Really couldn't have got any luckier.
Awesome,
yeah.
Awesome. So, all right, so you got the land. What was the very first thing you did in preparation to make this into an airport? Because that's what you did here. You built an airport.
We did. And, you know, you have to survey everything and see which, you know, because there's 5 ridges up here and this is all mountains up here, you have to figure out which is going to be the best, the straightest, where to put your runway. Runway is basically, you know, key to everything. So I drove around all the ridges. And
I'll show you an aerial shot. There's literally like fingers of ridges that come off of this land.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we did was I had I had Debbie, my wife, go up on one end of a ridge. I went on the other end of a ridge, and I took a realtor's app, basically, that you can go online, and you can put pin drops. And then it'll tie a line together to see how straight it is. And then you walk that area to see if the ground is flat enough, if it's, you know, if it's going to present any other big, huge problems. Yeah. Any other problems, either boulders or anything else you're not going to be able to move or anything like that. So we did that, and I found 2 good locations for runways. The one is where I really wanted to build on, but we decided not to because I couldn't get power over there, and I really didn't want to run power that
Which is actually the longest finger.
The longest finger, that's right. So we decided on this one right here, and it actually worked out to be very, very good. I thought I was going to get about 1,500 foot of runway. We ended up getting about 2,000.
We are partnering with great companies like Dynon Avionics at Dynon.com, Airtech Coatings at AirTechCoatings.com, Clemens Insurance at ClemensInsurance.net, The Aviators Clinic at AviatorsClinic.com, Foxtrot 95, Calhoun County Airport at FlyFoxtrot95.com, Edge Performance at EdgePerformance.no. Take a moment to go visit their websites at the links found below in the description of this video. And visit our website at ExperimentalAircraftChannel.com for events, our video library arranged in easy-to-find playlists on specific topics, affiliate products, aviation merchandise, and so much more. So let's kind of switch back and forth on some topics here. And one is, you've done this before on a smaller scale at the other place, right? Yeah. In fact, you even went through the process of making it an official identified airport, correct?
Yes.
So it's actually on a chart or available to be on a chart.
Yes.
Do you plan on doing that here, or is there not necessarily a reason because of protection, because you're in the middle of timberland down here?
I really don't know yet. I'd like to, because it's nice to have it on a sectional so people can find you, and you have some, it does give you some legal benefits, some. On the other hand, when everybody knows you're there, it could be a bad thing as well.
People just popping in whenever.
Yes.
And you do have a little bit of a unique approach and terrain here, so you don't want necessarily just anybody dropping in on you.
Correct. We want anybody that wants to fly here, if I check them out, and that's all it'll take, is if I give them a good checkout and I know they can handle it, then I'll let them land here.
Yeah, because this is more or less a true backcountry location.
Yes. Yes.
It's not a flat, completely smooth runway.
It is not.
There's a little bit of a hill to it, a little bit of pitch to it.
Yes, yes. And it's, you know, when you come in, you're coming in on top of a mountain, so it's not like there's a lot of go-arounds or outs if you don't know what you're doing.
Okay. So at the moment, it's not necessarily necessary, but you're not sure whether to have it an actual identified airport or not.
We're contemplating it. I just have to really decide if it's going to be best.
But you've done that before. Just really quickly, what was the process? Was it a matter of just downloading some paperwork and filing, or what was that like?
Yeah, it really is. It's not a big deal. It's basically about 5 pages of paperwork, and then it's really just doing a layout of the runway and doing all your measurements, and then giving them longitude, latitude of the runway, lengths of the runway, how wide it is, and then basically turn that all into the FAA, and they approve it pretty quick. It took us about 30 days to do it last time.
Sounds pretty simple.
So it's a fairly easy process.
All right, so jumping back into the construction or the first processes of here, what was the next step that you did to create your airport?
The first thing was getting the road up. They had a very small road, but it wasn't good for trucks or anything.
It was like a dirt bike trail.
It was more for dirt bike trails, yeah. So we ended up widening it, making it about 80 foot wide, getting more of a straight shot down, and then getting a good grade on it so we could get trucks up here.
Up to right here.
Yeah, and then we ended up working on power, getting the power in, because it's 2,000 feet of power lines we had to put in, overhead power lines to get power up here.
Okay.
Which was a task, so that was the first thing we did. And then after I got that done, we started working on all the other paths getting out for the building site and for the taxiway, and then started working on the runway. The runway was the first thing I really tackled.
Okay. So we got the trail turned into an actual driveway.
Yep.
Up to your pad here, and then from there, what was the next growth?
Well, it was clearing this building site because we knew we were going to start getting our pad and our building done as quick as we could. And you had to get back
to work as soon as possible.
And we had to get back to work, right. Okay. So once we got this cleared and I could start building, that was working on my way out to the runway.
All right. So you literally worked your way from the road to the hangar space to the runway.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And what was it like? This is basically in timberland. It was used as timber.
It was,
right? And people sold it to you because they're done
logging it,
and stuff like that. So, what was it like? What equipment did you have to use? You weren't out here with a chainsaw.
No. We ended up. I had a guy come out and help me. A friend of mine come out and help. He had a big bulldozer.
Okay.
They come out with bulldozers. They'll start knocking the trees over and then section them up. A couple guys with chainsaws section them up, and excavators carrying everything out and just starting to clear everything.
If you had to guess, because roughly 1,800 to 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
And this is timberland, so the trees are fairly close. You can walk through it, but they're fairly close. About how many trees do you think you tore down to create the runway?
I would almost bet that we had 300 plus or 500 trees.
Wow.
Just on the runway.
And those are all bulldozed?
Those are all bulldozed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I only have experience really kind of chainsawing and using a backhoe to dig up roots. Bulldozing, you just get all of it all at once.
Yeah, you
correct?
Just push it right over, and then you can push it out of the way and then deal with it after that, as far as limbing it up and cutting it into sections, because we're logging everything we use here, either firewood or I'm running through my sawmill.
Awesome.
So we can build cabins and everything else. So everything that's going to be done here should come from the timber on the land we cut. So once we got it to where we could actually drive up and down fairly well, I got basically what they call a Harley rake. And a Harley rake is, it's like a big tiller almost, but basically what it does, it'll pull rocks and roots up to the surface and then push them out to the side in a plow form.
Okay.
So you just keep going back and forth, and that keeps uprooting everything that's up to a foot underneath. So if you missed any stumps, any big roots, any of that, it'll pull them up, it'll get them out of the way, and then you have to clean all that and start working on grading everything.
Okay, and doing this process, you're having a lot of bonfires to get rid of
some of
the light stuff?
Yeah. I mean, we have the burn barrel up there that went 24 hours a day, basically, and I had just fire pits everywhere.
Okay. So after that's root raked, essentially, did you have to put any a top layer, or could you use the dirt that was already here?
We used everything that was here. We have good soil here. So Tennessee has chert, which is kind of like crush and run, or chert is, it's a Tennessee thing. So, and it's everywhere.
A little bit of rock and a little bit of dirt, you got chert.
You got chert, that's exactly right. So it makes a good bed for anything. So once we got it leveled, we were in pretty good shape, ready for grass.
Gotcha. And that's where we're at right now. You're ready for grass?
We're ready for grass.
But still kind of fine-tuning some of the areas, so not ready to plant just yet.
Yeah, I was going to do it last fall, but we ran out of time. So I have to regrade just a little bit, get it soft again, and then we're going to hydroseed and get grass in.
Okay, so as it sits right now, the runway itself is roughly 1,800 dirt.
Yep.
And then how wide?
100 foot.
100 foot wide.
Yep.
And it is a one-way in, one-way out at the moment.
At the moment it is, yes.
And you are landing uphill and taking off downhill.
Yep.
You want to explain the advantages of that, especially for a STOL pilot or STOL aircraft?
Yeah, and it's really good for anybody, because when you have a short runway, if you can land and get a little bit of an uphill grade, of course, you're coming in hot, you can bleed off that speed as you touch down, and you can slow down very quickly, which that helps. And then of course the opposite, when you're taking off, you turn around and you get downhill, you get speed. So you can get your airspeed or your ground speed up really quick, and you can get off the ground a lot quicker.
Yeah, go ahead. So a little extra push.
It's a little extra push, and it helps when you're short field.
All right, Kris, switching gears, we're standing on a significant pad that doesn't have any metal or covering over it yet. But this is actually what you started with first before that building.
Yes.
And what size is this building, or the pad for the building?
This 80 by 100.
Which is huge.
It's big.
So
it's good size.
Your original intent coming here, before you knew of the other property, you were going to build a hangar home.
Yes.
And what did that layout kind of look like? So in your mind, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So my thought was we'd use the back 20 feet of the hangar because we have a 20-foot end
And this
wall.
is the back?
Yes, that'll be the back.
Okay, so it's very long, deep.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the side walls were going to be 20 feet tall, so we had a lot of height.
Okay.
So I was going to use the back 20 feet and the whole width to build our house, basically. Office, house, and bathroom and all that stuff.
Okay, so you got this property, additional property, and then obviously that takes care of your living arrangements for the moment, so this can kind of take a back burner to that.
Yes.
But you were still moving forward with it, but what happened? You ordered a steel building kit, which I think is the same company you used before?
We have, so I've done three, right?
Three different companies for hangars.
No, two companies, three different buildings.
Okay.
So in Sarasota, I used Olympia Steel, who I used here, and we used Heritage when we were in South Carolina.
Is that the building and the door, or two different companies?
Two different companies for the door.
Okay.
Highfold is the door, which is a great company. If anybody ever needs a good door, Highfold is superior. Customer support, pricing, quality of door, just unbelievable company to work with.
Okay, but here you used...
Here we used Olympia Steel for the building, and I did use Highfold for the door. I have the door sitting over there. So why are we not standing underneath coverage right now? Well, you know, as a lot of construction goes, there's always hiccups, but we ordered the building. We were supposed to get it in 6 months. They ended up being about 9 or 10 months before they ended up getting it to the site. In that process, we had a few hiccups, which always happens with construction. We got the building on site, and I started to erect the building, did my first column, which is laying right there, and realized really quick that they messed up the columns. Basically, these columns were supposed to be a bolt pattern of 4 inches on center for all the bolts, for the J-bolts, and they delivered a building with 3 inches on center. So instantly we knew there was a problem, and I had to start researching what happened. And we found out really quickly that because it took so long, the company ended up switching manufacturers in the middle of the project and never let us know. Kind of a oops, and now at the moment you're in a bit of a holding pattern until this gets worked out. Correct. Correct. All right, and just explain to everybody, in case they've never seen or heard of you before, what does Stolet Aircraft do? We are a Just Aircraft dealer, and we are a builder assist facility. So if anybody wants to come build an airplane, doesn't have to be Just Aircraft, can be any airplane, and you don't have the confidence or the space or the tooling to do it, you can come here and we will help you through that process and get you out in a timely manner. All right, here at the airplane, just wanted to let everybody know, this is for sale. This is for sale. We just listed it this month on Barnstormers, so if anybody has any interest, you can either get me at the website, my phone number, or through Barnstormers. We just literally put it up for sale, so it's probably gonna go pretty quick. Yeah, and if you want to see more information about that, we did some deep dives early on, well, about a year ago now. Yep. And on the Just Aircraft, this is the Super Stol with the Rotax 915. 915, yep. And a little bit of a unique thing. What prop are you running on it? We have the MT constant speed prop with the RS Flight Systems prop controller. Okay, so a lot of power, a lot of versatility with that prop, but yeah, check it out. And do you change anything here as far as contact information to get a hold of you? Or everything is good. StoledAircraft.com is still our website. Phone number is still the same, and our email is still the same, justaircraft@yahoo. All right. Or well, Just Stolet, I'm sorry, Just Stolet at Yahoo. Okay, well, I'll put a link to his website so you can contact him to ask any questions about this builder assist he's got going on here in Tennessee. And then if you want to get any information on this aircraft, you can contact him there as well. Look at 2 different levels. I need to like... That's right. Let's walk over the airplane for a second. Sounds good. Is that a really big woodpecker or is that a machine gun? No, that was a woodpecker. Wow, I think they call those woodcocks. Dude, there's one down in the house. All right, let's second. We're gonna... Did it break down? What happened? You're walking. You gonna walk your way home? You need a ride?